Tēnā rā koutou katoa, ko Borni to Rongopai Tukiwaho tōku ingoa, nau mai haere mai ki tēnei kaupapa, he Manawa Kakano. Kia ora everyone, welcome back. My name is Borni to Rongopai Tukiwaho, and today we are going to be having an awesome kōrero with ngā wahine toa, Tuihana Ohia and Jolene Proffit. I don't want to speak for them, so I'm going to pass us really quickly over so they can let you know more about their mahi and what they're doing. Today's kōrero, we're going to have a tangata whenua focus. We want to look at we're all in this space at the moment. COVID has us locked down here in Tamaki Makaurau, but it affects us across the motu, across the whole country. We want to have a discussion about what does that mean for us as tangata whenua, what does that mean for our humanity, and also what can we do as artists who are navigating these spaces, or what can we look at doing while we're navigating these spaces, and how does it affect us on both sides of the coin? So, before we get into the mahi, I would like to introduce you to Jolene.
Nā mihi kia koutou, ko hukarangi te maunga, ko wāpū te awa, ko harai te waka, ko rauru me rā hui oku marae, ko Ngāti ue pōhatu me Ngāti o waiapu oku hapu, ko Ngāti Pro taku iwi, ko Jolene Ho. I'm just really excited to be here today. Thank you so much.
It's so awesome to have you. Jolene, can you tell us a little bit about your mahi? Also, can you tell us why you said yes to coming to have a kōrero with us?
As I shared, I'm from the East Coast and I moved to Waikato about 25-ish years ago to become a nurse. And so I started nursing in terms of hematology and oncology, so working with people with different types of cancers, and then I moved into burns and plastics for a little bit. So babies with scalds or burns, or people who have been house fires or breast cancer and things like that. And that was really rewarding and really challenging mahi. And then I got the opportunity to move over into kaupapa Māori mental health, and that was in 2000. And I guess I took my learning from my nursing experience in the wards out into my mahi and kaupapa Māori mental health, because people had said to me, how can you do that? And I said, well, our hinengaro, our mental health, it affects us no matter whatever challenge we're facing. So I've been working in mental health for 25 years, really blessed and really grateful for the opportunity to walk alongside our whānau through that journey. And 2 years ago, I moved into the space as a service development manager, mental health and addictions at strategy and funding here at Waikato DHB. I'm really enjoying that space because it gives me an opportunity to have a further reach across the rohe in terms of developing up and scoping up services to better meet the needs of our whānau. So, I'm just really privileged, the journey that I've had, and it's led me to spaces and places like this. And the reason I said yes is because I was blessed and fortunate to have met Tuihana a number of years ago, and our paths have crossed over those years. And more so last year, I think it was, this year, Tuihana asked me to be part of a Hui table kōrero. So this kaupapa came up, and she said, Jolene, do you want to be part of this? And I was like, absolutely, anything, that you're into, I'm keen to awhi. So, yeah, and getting to talk with yourself, Borni, and Kerry Ann, and Michelle, it's been really exciting, and I'm just stoked to be part of the kōrero today. So, yeah, kia ora.
Amazing, kia ora. Hey, before we move on to Tuihana, you brought up a couple of things in your kōrero. If you don't mind, I might just ask you a couple of questions. You spoke about when you were doing oncology, when you left that to go into mental health, you said you took your learnings. Do you mind touching on that a little bit more?
I guess just to share with everyone, I'm a twin. I tell everybody that. We're both nurses. So if you bump into my twin sister who works with adolescents and young adults across the Midland region in cancer, And she's not very warm or says hello, or you say, hey, I saw you talking part of this core draw, and she says, what are you talking about? Yeah, you know why, because I've got a twin. But I guess we were really fortunate. My dad is European, so that's where I get the strong Māori name Proffit from. I've got his blonde hair and blue eyes now. And you know, my dad, really humble, amazing man, and my mum was Māori, obviously, and they just brought us up with really strong ethics around caring and supporting and doing things for others. And as I was sharing with you both before, our middle names are my twin sisters and I think we were destined to be part of that caring field. So mine is Awhina and hers is aroha, but our mum was an enrolled nurse. She talked to us all the time about her nursing and her experience, and those were real gems and learnings that we took forward. And in terms of working in oncology, you know, and I think from a Te Ao Māori space too, it's just really natural for us to see ourselves as a whole being. You know, we're not separated off into, oh, you've got a breast cancer or you've got, you know, a blood cancer. And so those key things for me really helped me move into my mental health and addiction space, and being really aware of not only the whānau or the person in front of you, but your wider whānau system, and just taking the time to be present. A lot of the times I'd leave my clinical notes right to the very end because I'd rather be having a kōrero or doing a miri on, you know, massaging someone's feet or brushing their hair or tidying their space. So those key things about just really being present and looking at a holistic and whole whānau order, I guess, perspective took me through into my mental health nursing. And that's, yeah, I think that was really key and vital, because we all have mental health and wellbeing, you know, and we all have different issues that affect us. I think the key is to really listen and be present. And people would say to me, how can you go into mental health, you know? Wouldn't you get hoha? And I go, well, you know, the first thing is to see the person as a person, you know, and you're halfway there, because, yeah, you know when someone's not being genuine with you, you know. So, you know, that's what I always try to be, is be really genuine and authentic with people that I've had the privilege of walking alongside and supporting. So, yeah.
Kaiārahi. I really love that you've already brought up this need for us as tangata whenua, but for us all to be understood as a whole, not incrementally. I think that's a really awesome point, because I think that's something that will weave through the kōrero as well. No mai ewa, kia ora, thank you for being here.
Kia ora.
Tuihana e kare.
Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora koutou. Ngā mihi, it's lovely to be here. Ko Mauao rawa ko kupu kairo o ki maunga, ko tauranga te moana, ko mā tātua rawa te aroha o ki waka, ko Waikato te awa, ko Ngātirangi, ko Ngāti Pukenga me rawa o ku iwi, ko whitu o te rangi, ko tahu whakatiki me tama pohore o ku marae, ko ngā pōtiki te hapu, ngā pāpako rangatawa no tāhuna, ko tūpaia te tangata. Kia ora koutou, ko Tuihana Ohia hau, hail from a beautiful place called Tauranga Moana, and got very strong whakapapa back to te aroha as well. Excuse me if I've got a little bit of Australian accent every now and then. I grew up in Melbourne, Australia, but I've been back in Aotearoa for a number of years. And I just want to quickly mahi to my McKissick family, as we recently lost our grandfather. And so, yes, so that's a bit about me. Blended mother of 4 sons, 28, 18, 17 and 7. And yeah, what else do you want to know about me? Oh God, where do I start? No.
Back in 1830.
I am the founder and director of Wellbeing Limited. So I'm a wellbeing designer and consultant, and I work across both mainstream and Māori environments, both profit and non-for-profit environments. So that's actually my passion, my love, is to uplift and empower the lives of others. And yeah, and I'm all about collaboration in terms of design and creating things that just elevate people in their well-being and their Hauora. That's me.
Damn. I really like how your terminology around well-being design.
Yeah.
That's a term, a specific way of wording that I haven't heard before. Can you touch on that a little bit more for me, please?
Yeah, so in our work, I mean, we've worked across organisations such as, you know, large kind of mainstream corporate organisations, Vodafone, right through to Waikato Tainui, who we've done work with, and then we've also done work with a number of non-for-profits, because I'm an associate for Centre for Social Impact, who are a division of Foundation North. And what we've found in our mahi is that often people want things that are just off the shelf, but off the shelf often doesn't really accommodate the needs of the kaimahi. And wellbeing looks like different things to different people. So what we do, what we encourage we do with our clients is that we actually look at what they've currently got on offer, if they've got anything on offer with regards to their wellbeing. And then we actually gain some data or do surveys with, you know, with their kaimahi to actually hear the voices of what the kaimahi really want. And then we work with the client to actually then design a piece of work so that we're ensuring that we're really hitting the mark. And when I say hitting the mark, I'm all about heart mahi. So the mahi's got to hit the heart of the people. And if they can hear through the design bits and pieces that they've contributed to, then that also allows a greater engagement and also means that you're going to have it probably more than likely in most cases it become more embedded in the practices of the organization from the very top, although I don't like using that terminology, but through all the areas of the organization, from the tippity top right down to the person who, you know, you may have in a corridor with, who might be changing the toilet rolls. I don't know, but you know, it allows us to just really hit the heart of everyone, no matter where they're sitting within an organization. So
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting to me, as you were speaking, the idea of wholeness came back into my rero, and I feel this this idea around design is really important for us as tangata whenua, as when we're looking after our people, because our wholeness is important. But I think for many years, we've also been lumped under one label. You know, Māori, we're all the same. But, you know, there's iwitanga, haputanga, there's all of these things that need to be taken into consideration. So one size doesn't fit all. And I really love the idea that designing this Hauora space can be something that is really connective and really specific to those needs. And it sounds like that's something similar that is in your mahi as well, Jolene. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and just talking about the whole of, you know, whole kind of, I mean, you know, Tā Mason Durie, I mean, he really epitomizes that kind of te wharatapa whā model and that connection to whenua and those different areas of well-being, because it's a really holistic, right, big picture. There's a lot of focus currently on mental health and well-being because of the flux of the last 18 months during this time where we've had a whole lot of challenges, you know, where we've had to be teachers to our children, or we've had to work from our lounge rooms or our bedrooms or caravans in our instance, or, you know, and coordinate everything that goes with that. And there's a terribly lot of focus on mental health and well-being. I think there needs to be a little bit of, and this is very personal for Kaiārahi, not everyone will agree with it, that there needs to be this kind of mindfulness too around the fact that in order to have good mental health and well-being, that you need these other parts of your well-being to be in good places as well, in order to be in that place of, you know, mauri ora, you know. So, and I think that that I understandably there is a lot of focus on mental health and well-being. But Jolene, what would your thoughts be on that, sister?
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree with you. I think, you know, the need is just growing exponentially, and then you chuck in COVID, you know, which has just lit it, ignited it. And like you said, you know, we're all living in an unpredictable time. There's no real gaze to the horizon to say, you know, this is going to end anytime soon. And, you know, we've never experienced anything like this as a nation, let alone globally, you know. And I think, you know, we've watched and seen overseas, you know, and I guess that just increases anxiety, you know, and fear. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of we need to look at ourselves and others and learnings, you know, in terms of what is it that we can do to take back a sense of some sort of mauri, or just a sense of being, you know, and maybe just little things like getting out and taking your dog for a walk, or it may be just doing some deep breathing, you know, or it may just be picking up the phone and talking to a whānau member and just checking in. And I guess, you know, as we've heard over the last, you know, 6 months, 18 months, you know, more so it's around, it's okay to not be okay, you know, and really bringing down those stigmas around mental health and wellbeing, because as I shared, you know, when I spoke earlier, we all have it. We all have good days. We all have days that aren't so flash, you know, but what is it, the thing that hiki wairua, you know, lifts our spirit, lifts us and supports us,
I think it would be good for us to touch back, to move on from piki order, that space. But before we go there, I think it would be great, Tuihana, if you can just, for those of the people who are watching who don't know what Te Whare Tapa is, and perhaps what you mean by, it may seem obvious, but what you mean by other parts of our Hauora being needing to address all of that as well.
Yeah, sure. So Te Whare Tapa was developed by Mason Durie, so Professor Mason Durie. I'm a total fan of his and managed to meet him recently, and actually had a photo with him and Jolene. And I was trying not to gush over a 80-plus-year-old man, but it was a little difficult. But he came up with this concept, and this was about helping mainstream understand well-being from a te ao Māori perspective, so from a Māori lens. And he developed this model known as Te Whare Tapa Whā. And so Te Whare being your house, and Whā being the number 4. Tahirua tori whā, yes. And it encompasses taha whānau, so your family well-being, taha wairua, so your spiritual well-being. Sometimes people struggle, particularly in the mainstream space, around that wairua. So wairua, though, for some people can be about music. So it's just a sense of your spiritual well-being. Then you've also got taha hinenaro, so your mental health and well-being. And then the last one is taha tinana, which is your body. And then kind of in more recent years, there's also been the inclusion of whenua, so the land, or where you belong, your place of belonging. And again, that can look like different things to different people. And so what I was, talking to was that often there's a lot of focus on that one kind of area around hinenaro, which, as Jolene has said, is, the domestic. Now, what no one's talking about is that the domestic violent rates in New Zealand have gone up like exponentially since we've gone into this COVID space. Those are the kind, mental health and wellbeing has escalated. But one of the things that I'm really mindful of is that, yes, we do have this major pōuri, sadness, raru going on with mental health and wellbeing, but we also need to be mindful of our whānau, our wairua, and our tinana, because often too our tinana and our mind are interlinked, because when we move our bodies, and people would know this in the arts, when they move their bodies beautifully, is that it helps to release certain chemical reactions that make us feel better about ourselves. So that's that Te Whare Tapa Whā model.
I guess the other key aspect in terms of Te Whare Tapa Whā, if you think of it like 4 sides, if one side is down, it weakens the whare, so that's why there's those 4 key components, including whenua or taiao, that whare stands on, that each of them is a pillar or a strong wall that holds us up in terms of who we are and our being. So it's really important that we work on all components of our whare to give us, to support us in terms of well-being. Yeah.
Kia ora kōrero. I think I want to go back to just backtrack a little bit to our kōrero before, and I believe you said one of the final sentences you said before I took it to the Whare Tapa Whā was around heke te Hauora, or te ora. One of the reasons I think this is a great kōrero to be having is if we're looking at a lot of the rhetoric, a lot of the kōrero that's happening on social media, a lot of our Māori spaces have quite divisive kōrero. There's really one side or the other. And I think it would be great if we can kind of knuckle down into that to explore what that means. For me, what I see in my space anyway is a lot of our wahine Māori seem to be having really strong voices, which is not new for Māori. our wahine are strong, but I feel some of the voices are coming from completely different ends of the spectrum. It feels to me that we're all functioning at the moment in response to COVID in the space of lots of different spaces. Like there's dread, there's fear, there's uncertainty. All of these elements kind of like come together to help inform how people are responding, right? And depending on the messages people are getting. Can I ask you both, what are you seeing in amongst all of the kōrero that you're a part of? And is there an answer? Like, is there a way for us to inject some settling into this kōrero? Is there a way for us to kind of start looking at bringing back an idea of what the support for each other? How can we allow ourselves to have autonomy and still listen? Those types of kōrero. Can I start with you, Jolene, please?
Yeah, I guess I've seen and heard exactly what you've described, Borni, in terms of 2 different ends of the spectrum. For karo views, be it for a whole different, range of reasons, be it either cultural, religious, spiritual, or just different perspective. And I guess, the thing is in life is that that's the unique thing about being human, isn't it? We all have different views and different perspectives and see things through different lenses. And it's the same about the painting behind you, we're talking about the arts. I remember doing art at high school, and my teacher said to me, draw a house. So I drew my house, and I was told, no, that's not what I asked you to do. And I said, yeah, you told me to draw a house, and this is how I see the house, So it's the same with anything in life, and especially really significant, prominent, challenging, strange, new scary things such as this, you know, with COVID. There's going to be different views and perspectives. And I think too, as wahine Māori, you know, and especially being Ngāti Porou, because we had some fierce wahine there, they've got up and spoke on the marae. You know, you also take in that dimensional element of being a protector or a mother, you know, that whole that wahine component, you know, in terms of, yeah, protecting and fiercely protecting your whānau, your tamariki, you know, because we are the... Yeah.
Is it also about not just the nurturing of your immediate whānau as from a Māori perspective? When we nurture our rōpū as well.
Yeah. There's lots of demands, I guess, on the shoulders of the wahine. You know, we're the bearers of the future, you know. And so, yeah, it's quite a challenging space and place to be, and a beautiful space to be in as a wahine Māori. I think for me, it's just about having a listening ear, you know, and you know, that's what I've done with my own whānau. We've got different views, you know, they're not all pro or you know, have a different view. And I guess the thing for me is just letting them know that I've heard them. And I had a niece put up a post on Facebook, and it was very one-sided. And I just said, you know, kia ora above, you know, hope things are all good where you are. You know, I just want you to know that we love and care about you, and hopefully that you're safe, you know. So it's just, you don't have to side, you know, it's just letting people know, reaching out again, connecting, and just letting people know that you're there for them. And I think that's, you know, I've got my own views, you know, especially as a nurse. But, you know, the key thing that I take forward with me is just connecting with my whānau, or whomever, maybe Joe blogs off the street. But just being mindful that we all have different ways in which we see and interpret things. I think it's really key.
Durie, how about you, Tuihana?
Man, there was lots of reflection going on as I was listening to Jolene's kōrero. Like Jolene, there's many viewpoints that, you know, we're seeing across Facebook. And a lot of those viewpoints I'm seeing predominantly from wahine Māori. I think and also Jolene spoke about, you know, how we wear many different pōtai, very many different hats. And I think a lot of us are po within our whānau. You know, we are the po that kind of is the central point. So often there's, I think, an expectation and a pressure for us to always be this continually solid po of which our family can turn to and go to and talk to and be with. I think it's really good to be mindful, though, that in caring for everyone else, we've got to take this time and this space to also care for ourselves. And I think that often as wahine Māori, or as wahine, we tend to put others before ourselves. And so we prioritise many other things before we actually prioritise ourselves, and therefore that can on occasion be to the detriment of our own well-being, of our own Hauora. So, and I think that with these differing whakaaro views that are going on in kōrero, there's conversations going on, is that whānau is whānau, and that we love our whānau despite the decision that they may make. And and so I think that there's that kind of conversation going on as well. But I think more importantly is that we as wahine Māori need to take a little bit of time and space for ourselves and prioritise ourselves, because we have a tendency to prioritise everybody else, you know.
I guess too then, because if you're not caring, you've got to put yourself at the centre if you are going to be a po, right? So if you're not making sure that you are healthy, your po-ness is solid, then that's going to exacerbate and your anxieties will rise. And in that nurturing space, that makes a lot of sense to me. I imagine too, in this moment, we have our wahine who are hapu as well. And we have tangihanga and all of those kind of things that we're not able to connect to. It can possibly feel like there's a, well, I say possibly feel, but I've seen a couple of people who are having this kōrero and I found it interesting that they feel like they've been colonized again.
Yes.
About suppression again. And I wonder, is there a way for us to walk alongside our whānau in a way to help them to settle that kōrero within themselves as well?
When I went to, so I have a view and I am fully vaccinated. I remember when the second time I went to go in, they asked me why, and there's a number of reasons, personal reasons, but one was just for me was knowing that pandemics like the flu and other things like TB, which affected our koro, there's been kind of plagues or pandemics that have affected our people. So for me personally, it was important for me to be immunized because I didn't want to place myself and my family at risk. But in saying that, again, if a whānau member that perhaps has chosen not to for various reasons, then they would still be welcome in my whare. And so I think that, those kind of conversations are challenging, but I think, it's just, for me personally, it's about being mindful of our whakapapa and ensuring that our whakapapa lives on, because I think that as Māori, we're a little bit more, clearly we're more prone and more susceptible to being placing ourselves at risk of getting COVID, and therefore the ramifications on us, because we haven't had that opportunity to kind of build up that immunity, that many others have had. That's just my personal whakaaro.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think in regards to where we're having this kōrero at the moment about tangata whenua, wahine Māori, and Te Ora Auaha, we broker between that Hauora hinengaro space and the arts. One of the things that I've noticed in my mahi is throughout the arts space, there's another layer of vulnerability. A lot of the kōrero that is being spouted, I suppose, at the moment is around the positive benefits of the arts. It's not considered to be of value, like we're not a valuable job, but the music, everything that books, all of those types of things really help people's Hauora and uplift. But really is the kōrero around looking after the people who create the art space. And I think for our Māori artists, because, as we know, the art for us is within our breathing, within our wholeness. And before Pāhea arrived, we didn't have that separation of arts and living. And I think there's two senses of vulnerability if we're talking about tangata whenua in the arts and the artistic sector as well. I think what I'd like to ask both of you is, do you, in your mahi, like we're going to have some resources that you guys have shared with us, we'll put those out for everybody to look at. What do you feel are tangible ways for people, like tangible ways for anyone who's watching this to connect, to be able to look at a different lens or figure out a different navigation from their own whakaaro? We spoke earlier, Jolene, you spoke earlier around listening. And it's interesting because that sounds like a simple thing, but actually it needs to be named, doesn't it? It really does need to be named. Are there any other active ways that maybe we can start looking at to help ourselves or to help our whānau?
Yeah, there's a whole range of things, and I think one of the key things that I always think about is with before we look out, you know, because, and as our title was about, you know, we're all born of greatness, we're all born with this poo, this seed, you know, that unfurls as we grow and develop, and within that we've got different skills and strengths, and there's different things that really resonate with us, you know, be it, you know, singing, performing, drawing, you know, acting, and it's like, I totally agree with you, Borni. There's the arts allow us to be so expressive, to connect, you know, to transcend in so many different ways and shapes and ways of being, to really connect with each other and express how we're feeling. So in that respect, I think, you know, you guys, you know, in terms of your rōpū, you've got those skills and attributes which are amazing. But, you know, sometimes it's just like we talked about, the simple things, you know, like similar to Tuihana, I didn't realise she had a 28-year-old and a 7-year-old, because I've got a 28-year-old and a 6-year-old, soon to be 7. So we've got, yeah, that in common, as well as a range of other things. But you know, that my 6-year-old teaches me so much, you know, just to see the beauty in the little things, you know, and I think we lose that as adults. We lose that in our journey, you know, and sometimes it's just listening to the rain or listening to the bird that I can hear in the background on someone's screen there, you know, just really being present. It's okay, you know, giving ourselves permission, you know, just letting go. I think that's really important. And, you know, personally for me, it's having those moments, being present, but also connecting, you know, coming from the coast and being landlocked in the Waikato, you know, I really miss the moana. And my tani he's from Waikato Tainui, and at times, you know, we'll go and visit his whānau up on Taupiri, and it's really nice just to look back over the awa, you know, and just really just take in the beauty of everything around us, you know, and it may be just a simple thing like saying hello to someone, you know, that you're walking with, a stranger that you don't know, you know, just having that human connection, you know. I just think there's so many things that we underrate or undervalue.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, one of my favorite things to do is get really dressed up when I go to the supermarket and smile at people, just to give them a sense of a little bit of joy. I think there's a number of things, and that is and personally, I love the arts. I love all that the arts offer. I think that in any space, but, you know, when I think about family, when I think about whānau, you know, we're either singing, we're either playing a guitar, we're either, you know, we've got a 7-year-old who dresses up, and, you know, so there's always some kind of creativity within our whare. But I think that within Te Ao Māori, a lot of us are just naturally creative, you know, by nature, and that's something that really calls to our hearts. Because as I'm speaking about this, I can feel my heart just blooming with happiness, you know, watching people move and the movement that they have. And I often also think about, a long time ago when I did jazz ballet, but even now to this day, it's really relevant, is that, and I know that a lot of artisans practice this, and that is that art of breathing, because that art of breathing allows us to really calm our stress and anxiety levels, and allows us to have some sense of focus. And like Jolene said, you know, we've kind of forgotten things along the way. And I wrote down the word pūmanawa because pūmanawa are like our superpowers. They're like our God-given, tūpuna-given gifts that we have. And each of us has those gifts. And I'm really always envious of those that are so naturally talented musically. So I just want to meet all the artisans that are listening today because I just think you're wonderful. But just what I think that they're undervalued, and I think that there's a space and a place for the arts to really flourish in this current environment that we've been in. And like Jolene, I am landlocked in, you know, kirikiriroa here in the Waikato, and that sense of not being able to return to Mauao or kupu Kaiārahi, to climb our maunga, to look over the moana, to visit the urupa and sit with our tūpuna is challenging. But it's about remembering how those spaces and those places make us feel that can still give us that sense of hononga, although we can't actually physically be there. And the other thing is to be mindful of is to also be really kind to ourselves. I think we can be really hard on ourselves and kind of, you know, we get all this monkey chatter in our hinenaro in our brain. And that is to just be really kind. And it is just the simple things like breathing and listening to music that can really de-escalate those kind of stresses and anxieties we may be feeling. But yeah, just truly love the arts, purveyor of the arts.
Kia ora. I think that's a really brilliant point. It's around de-escalating sometimes because our anxiety levels can lift without us really understanding what's going on. I know for me in Tāmaki over the last, 100 years, we've been in lockdown. Every so often I'll wake up and I feel like my puku's up here in my throat and I'm not sure what it is. And I think that's what I was kind of navigating around is what are the tools for ourselves? But it's an individual thing, isn't it, as well? It's really individual. What are the steps that we can have? What control can we have over those things? So maybe planning is one of those ideas, because you say simplicity. So having a plan for yourself, having the toolkit for yourself. And I really love the idea of being kind to ourselves. It's been amazing being able to sit here and have a kōrero with you both, or actually just to listen to your whakaaro and your knowledge. It's so beautiful. So thank you for being here today. To wind up, I just want to lay a couple of points in front of you both and maybe just ask for your comments. They are, how do we bring the aroha back? I spoke earlier about the divisiveness of some of the kōrero. There's a separation kind of play that's going on, a little bit wee wah at the moment. So how do we bring the aroha back, and maybe what does the hope look like? Jolene, what's your whakaaro?
Well, you know, that kupu aroha, aro, having a path or a view moving forward, you know, a ha in terms of our life breath, you know, I just think it's about looking forward, you know, looking forward and continuing to, like you spoke about in terms of hope and having hope. I mean, those are two simple kupu, but they're huge. Yeah, they're so huge. It is like we just spoke about being kind to ourselves, being kind to others. And looking at ourselves in terms of the skills and attributes we have, but also looking to develop and grow ourselves as individuals, as whānau, as communities, as whānau that have similar interests, you know, like how can we move forward and give voice, you know, in terms of a voice to what our beliefs are, and I look back to our tūpuna, you know, in terms of You know, there's so much learnings, everything. I think, you know, if we look at what they had to say, you know, even the concept of Tapa and noa, you know, they were, you know, just in terms of keeping ourselves safe. And yes, I've got my 6-year-old here.
Hui Ora.
So kia ora. Kia ora. He wants to go back into the rain. Yes, on the trampoline. Yeah, tamariki, you know, they give us in terms of aroha, being flexible, you know, yeah, being, you know, just the small things like I spoke about, you know. Yeah.
I really liked how you spoke earlier about your whanaunga, how your response to their kōrero was to just reach out and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, the simplicity of doing that instead of going, you know, shut up, stop talking, your views are different to mine, but stepping back a little bit, and it's simple as going, are you okay? Because that might help them to shift and to settle.
Yeah, and just letting them know that irrespective of differing views, we're still connected, we still have, you know, we're still whānau, we still love each other, you know, irrespective of differing views, but just to sort of reach out, because maybe others may have left a negative comment or not even chosen to respond, but I just really wanted to know that irrespective of time, space, and, you know, that I love her, you know, as my niece, and I'm always here, you know, and I think that's really important, irrespective of differing views or perspectives. Yeah, that humanness, you know, that aroha. Yeah.
Kia ora, e wha. How about you two here?
I was just when you talked about, you know, Māori aroha, you talked, you know, Māori and aroha. So I did a little circle with Māori and aroha in the middle of it, because that's actually, you know, koe, that's me, that's who you are. You know, you put yourself at the center, and then around that you have all those things that bring you joy. And the reason why, you know, we often use porowhita is because there's continual learning and growing that's happening. And I think right now is an opportunity to lean into some of the challenges that we are being confronted with, and because from the most uncomfortable spaces actually comes the greatest growth. So I think that during this time, while we are being challenged, there's actually a lot of growth going on at the same time. So I think that, you know, if we're talking about aroha, is to perhaps have some focus on the things that we've learnt and the things that we've grown from, or the things that we've lent into and that we've actually learnt from. So, and I agree with Jolene that irrespective of people's whakaaro or kōrero on the, you know, thoughts or conversation on the current challenges that we're facing, that ultimately love conquers all. And as long as we can always come from a place of aroha, we will continue to be strong and continue to grow in this world. Because if we think about our tūpuna, there were so many things that we as people could have been deflated about and, you know, moved into a corner, but we haven't. We've taken on those challenges and we've continued to grow stronger and stronger and stronger. And I truly believe that right now there's an amazing opportunity for us within Te Ao Māori and as tangata whenua to really showcase all the amazingness that is within us all. So,
Kia ora. Kia ora. I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up our kōrero today. Kia ora, tēnā kōrua. So nice to have you both here and just to reflect this. I really hope we get to do it again soon. Jolene and Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your knowledge and your presence. For anyone who's watching, Tuihana and Jolene, their bios will be attached to our koha. Also, there'll be a few resources that we've been able to find, and we'll put those there as well. Thank you for watching. He Manawa, Kakano, ka kite.
Ka kite. Thank you.
Kia ora.